Alright, Chief, so we are back with a kind of surprising update because it actually involves Final Fantasy Tactics of all things. So recently, the producer and director of Theatrhytym Final Bar Line, Ichiro Hazama and Masanobu Suzui, I believe is how you say their names, were doing an interview with the gaming website Finland. And obviously, a majority of this interview is about Theatrhythm Final Bar Line, but they do try off at one point where the interviewer asks one of the devs about Dissidia Opera Omnia, because I believe they worked on that game at one point, and why there isn't certain characters in that game, including characters from Final Fantasy Tactics. It's actually where we get our update. It's pretty interesting. So I'm just going to read over the few questions that involve this subject, so let's hop into it. It says, our next question is a little bit technical, only for Hazama-san. Are you still working on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia? To which replies, I used to work on that one. It is currently handled by the same persons who did Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. Fujiwara Jin and Nobu Daisuke. I suck at this shit. They're the producers for it. I was there advertising them for the first year, giving my opinions on it. I realized if I carry on doing that, I'd say too much and ask them to do much more, This is their game now, I should leave up to them. After doing it 1 year, I thought, no, I'm moving forward from this project. I'll leave it to these guys how they want it to be. They further say, because the question is about the game, so if you can't answer it, maybe we'll ask something else. We haven't played it recently, so not sure we'd have an answer. You can ask me the question. If I can't answer it now, I'll ask Fujiwara-san and request him to answer for you. And this is where the juicy bit happens. So they say, our question concerns the casting of the game and notably the absence of main characters. It is now the 6th anniversary in Japan and we're still missing characters such as Riku, Red 13, many characters from Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy 14. Is there a reason for this? Can we hope to see them one day? To which Hazama says, I think I can sort of explain the situation. Regarding Final Fantasy Tactics characters and why most of them are not in the game yet, it is essentially similar to what we do with Theatrhythm. This is a title coming with the whole series involving characters and stories for every single one of them. What we really don't want to do with these kinds of games like Opera Omnia and Theatrhythm is just to do Final Fantasy how we think it is, how we think it should be. We have to check with the staff who are responsible for each of the individual titles. For example, if it is related to Final Fantasy VII, we have to go talk with Nomura-san to check. For Final Fantasy Tactics, is the team who owns Tactics, we have to talk to them. There are different people among the company who own those games, who made them. We have to talk about the characters, what kind of abilities they should have, how they should behave in the game, how they should be portrayed, this kind of performance. We need to check all that. We don't just do it ourselves. The Tactics team is incredibly busy at the moment. They have other things to do. They're heavily involved in another project at the moment, so we just don't have time to talk to them. I think that's probably why more Tactics characters haven't been included in the game. We just need time to find out the details. I think that's what is going on, at the very least with Tactics characters. I'm sure they will put them into the game. Fujiwara-san wants Tactics. I know that. So quite a bit of reading there, but the main takeaway from all that, obviously, is that he dropped kind of the bombshell that the team who made the original Final Fantasy Tactics are currently working on some sort of project, right? Now, obviously, it's not an ongoing project that we know about, whatever that might be, I don't know. But otherwise, he wouldn't have been so, vague, right? He would have just said, hey, they're working on this. Maybe, we'll just, for the sake of argument, Final Fantasy 16. If they were, the people who made Tactics were helping with Final Fantasy 16, he probably would have just said that, I would feel like, right? But the fact that he was vague about it is pretty interesting, and the obvious go-to for this is the Tactics Remaster. Or remake, whatever it is. So recently we did a video where we talked about Square Enix being interested in more remakes or remasters, and even games that are outside of the Square Enix, umbrella, just whatever, right? And we talked about Team Asano, who was a good candidate to do something like a Final Fantasy Tactics remaster. But you can't really get better if you're going to do a remaster or a remake than getting together the team that made the original goddamn game, obviously. It's similar, but not quite the same as, when it comes to FF7 Remake, why I think that game hits really hard for a lot of us, is because they have a lot of the original dev team. The people that made that game back in 1997 on the PlayStation 1, they had them come together and help make the remake, right? That's why I think it transitions so well for, a modern version of that game. And when it comes to the possibility of it being a Tactics remake, we haven't really discussed this, I guess, but similar to the 9 remake, we don't know what that would be. Is it a remake that is just a visual overhaul? It is a complete redo of the game from the ground up in, a modern engine? Or is it a remake in the sense that they're going to add a bunch of new shit to it, which I would honestly prefer. War of the Lions was a cool adaptation of Tactics, adding cutscenes and voice acting and stuff. I wouldn't mind if they went that route again. If they're going to do a Tactics remake for modern platforms, adding even more stuff, more jobs, more quests, more story, whatever. But obviously, it's a near perfect Final Fantasy game. It's a lot of people's favorite Final Fantasy games. You don't really have to add any more to it. Most of us would be perfectly satisfied with just a simple remaster. Just make it look pretty. Now, the other side of this discussion, of course, is the Tactics team could be working on literally any other project, right? Any other unannounced project. They could be helping with the 9 remake if that's a thing. They could be helping with 7 Rebirth or Final Fantasy 16 or just some other unannounced project that we just simply don't know about. But I think the obvious go-to here for most of us when we're seeing this and reading this is that if the Final Fantasy Tactics team is working on some sort of project, it has to be in regards to Tactics, right? Especially since the rumor's been out there for a long time of this remaster or remake or whatever the hell it is. Because when it comes to that infamous NVIDIA GeForce Now leak, when it came to the Square Enix games on the list, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the only ones that have never been officially revealed, discussed, talked about, whatever, are Final Fantasy Tactics and the 9 remake. So it's the fact that every other game on that list came true inevitably, and plenty of other games in general from that goddamn leak, it's just kind of a matter of time, right? But that's more or less the video, my dudes. There's not a whole lot to talk about or discuss. The TLDR from the video is that the team who made the original Final Fantasy Tactics is currently busy with some sort of project. And hopefully, it's the fucking Tactics remaster / remake / remakester. That's the video, my dudes. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Social networks in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @DaveYT. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like low gain or leave it like